folks, this is Fearless Draft. You cannot pick the same champion twice in these subsequent games. You can pick champions which the enemy team has played. The champions which are not available to a team are listed below them here on the graphic. So Ultra Prime, you can see they can't pick Darius, Xin Zhao, Hui, Kalista, and Nautilus, and you see the champions for AL on the other side. I think the most importantly for AL, they also had some good S-tier picks. I think the Viego, the Corki, the Varus, and Leona, they were all really raised in priority. Now it's time to see what else they have on the table. Looking at the bans coming through for this draft, I'm expecting Tristana to be this last ban. Otherwise, I think Yokai will snap that one up, and Shanks will have to answer that one. Does feel like the Tristana has been maybe the strongest pick in the LPL so far. And it unlocks a lot of the champions like the Karthus and the other AP farming junglers. Hacker's already showed 2 games of the AP farming junglers, one of Lilia, one of Karthus. Looked pretty good on both of them. So, Twisted Fate being removed instead, this has to be the Tristana first pick. I think that champion enables so much of what you want to do in mid lane. It's the 1AD mid, which gives you lane push in early game. It gives you tank killing potential. It gives you mobility. It gives you everything right now. Very few things in meta can really deal with Tristana in the way that you'd like them to. So AL, they might end up going towards something like the... Well, they pick the Karthus away themselves. That takes it away. This might be why they've gone towards it. And they pick an AD mid laner themselves too. Jace coming through. So you're expecting Tristana to get pushed against that Jace. But Shanks, no slouch on this pick. Really played well on this pick last year when Jace was more in meta for the mid lane. Nael, they sniff out the AD AP combo and they take away the Tristana Karthus. So strong, that combo. You don't really want to let that one go over. So now Ultra Prime will have to find magic damage elsewhere in their composition. We'll see where that's going to come through. Does Hacker have another AP farming jungler he'd like to play? We've seen the Lilia. I don't love the Lilia against Jace. Karthus. Feels like they're very long range and the Wall of Pain can deal with you very, very effectively too. Could go towards something like the Nidalee as well. Nidalee could be okay, but then the problem is Nidalee Tristana is much harder to play than something like that Karthus. You don't just have the R point and click button. And they've left that question up till later. They lock in Niket's Rel instead. And they just say, alright, who cares? We'll figure out this AP jungle bullshit later. The cost of this, though, of this first part of this draft, 3rd pick. This was banned away in game 1. Ala gets his Jax. I think there is only one Jax in the LPL that contends with Bin's Jax, and that is Ala's. Ala's Jax is absolute legendary status. Yeah, I remember back in spring, this guy did have a couple of uncharacteristic losses on the pick, but that was on the EDG Doom squad, so I don't think that's completely fair. I think, though, when it coming into this one, though, just seeing how Ala got kind of bodied in that individual matchup, kind of a skill matchup in that top side, going up against the Jax without having the Darius, which is one of the better matchups into it too, that's a big worry point now for Ultra Prime.
Yeah, and of course you don't have that Karthus, which Hacker is kind of looked towards as kind of a bit of an ace in the hole. You've still got the opportunity to go towards an AP jungler here, and there are still a few available, despite the fact they banned out the Nidalee themselves. But Lilia, obviously, with the new Blackfire Torch, feels pretty busted. Brand can do similar things. But they've actually decided that, look, we want to get rid of one of the 2 of the tankier options towards the top side. Sejuani is a kind of CC combo. Pretty difficult to manage. I suppose you could go back towards the Shinsa. Well, actually, you can't, because, of course,
no, you can't. It is Fearless Draft,
and it's banned. Yeah, so they can't do that. You can see, actually, the champions chosen at the bottom of the screen. You can see what's not available.
We've talked about that earlier in the draft, yeah. And now we're looking towards where Ultra Prime are going to get some magic damage from. It feels like, well, it's a fairly squishy. It's a fairly squishy team coming in from AL. Besides the Jax, if they lock in, I mean, they could pick up the Nautilus they could pick up the Nautilus themselves. They could go towards something like Ziggs Nautilus if they really wanted to go towards that, if they were hovering over that in the first place. That would give them an extra bit of tank towards that bot side, and it means that Ultra Prime, they just really would like to get themselves something that can add some magic damage into the equation, so it's just not armor stacking from the Nautilus and from, you know, tabbies onto the Jax as well.
Exactly that. They get that Nautilus that you were kind of calling out. And yeah, if it does get towards armor stacking, it can get a little bit difficult to manage. Still, see what they decide they're going to lock in as those final 2 picks to round out the composition. We are expecting some magic damage somewhere. Maokai can sort of do that, even if the days of full AP Maokai have kind of passed us away, so might decide to go towards
Tarzan with his 9,000 damage team fight.
God, yeah.
Those are the days. And instead, going towards the Gragas. Chintian has been a player of this before. Both him and Wayward were connoisseurs of the pick over on top esports, for better and for worse. But we'll see whether this is going to be a higher AP variant of the Gragas, or whether it'll be towards that more kind of tanky version.
Like, full tank Gragas is a lot less common than it once was. You still see sort of like more the rower options these days. And Maokai as well would be another bruisery AP style option. So there's your AP in. It's just not the highest amounts of all time. So I think that kind of works out.
I think that's fine because you've picked 2 picks which have some different magic damage. Of course, the Rel has a little bit in kit as well. So I think that ends up being okay. Given the fact that AL don't have huge tanks right now, I think that ends up solving the issue for Ultra Prime. And what this means in terms of the team fights is that you have great ability to have the Maokai ult cask people into the ult. You can rearrange fights very, very well to allow the Tristana and the Varus to hit the same target. But can you do that before the engage comes in with Jace and Kai'Sa hopping onto a target hit by a Nautilus hook with a Karthus R to finish it off? I think AL have a very good composition to pick off the first target if someone on Ultra Prime is out of position.
And your 1-3-1 is so scary because the Jason, the Jax can split push away and suddenly there's a Kai'Sa and a Karthus pressing R from 2 screens away and it's no longer a 1v1 or a 2v1, it's a 3v1 very, very swiftly indeed.
So, as we load into the draft, very different compositions from the first game, and that's what we love about Fearless. It means that you can't just go back to that same composition over and over. I've had my questions about Fearless in the LPL, but I have been enjoying the variety, at least for the first few days of play, and I hope that this does continue to showcase what players can do outside of just slamming in a Cassante or an Udyr as we saw in spring or something like that. Yokai gets himself in that Tristana. We know what he can do on that champion. I think that was a big pick to give over to Ultra Prime. I think that anyone's Legend will need to deal with that one effectively. I do think that these compositions, though, have some really different ways to play the game once we get out of that early game. Very interested to see how anyone's Legend play that first pick composition before Ultra Prime start pushing in with the Maokai and the Tristana.
Still waiting to load onto the Rift there. We have our skin selections. We don't see that so often anymore in pro play. It used to be a regular thing to see the loading screens.
True, yeah, back in the day.
But towards the Rift, we can start looking again. Anyone's Legend, 1 game up. And we see a bit of recovery from Ultra Prime after that game 1 demolition at the hands of their opposition.
How's the crumpet, Sam? How are you enjoying that?
Very good.
Glad it's good, Sam. Well, we have ourselves level 1 potentially coming in once again. Last game was the Leona. Not being able to do much compared... Oh, no, it was... yeah, last game it was, of course, Ultra Prime getting that first blood with the Nautilus themselves onto the enemy enemy jungler. Was out of position. Gave first blood over to Hacker. This time it's AL going for a topside invade. Are we going to see ourselves a lane swap, though? Well, it's a bit early to go for... It's a bit early to go for a lane swap here on this timing. You normally do a later invade. See that Ultra Prime... They've completely warded out the entrances to topside jungle. Well, not completely. There's actually one way left in through that mid lane turret. But on the whole, they will know what's going to happen towards the Wolves and then towards the Gromp as well, should someone go towards that. It does look like we have some weirdness going on. Qingtian not going towards top lane just yet.
They're going to try and do Australia lanes instead. No, Nick and Doggo are sticking around bot side, and I suppose...
Nah, this is just... Sam, this is just weird shit. This is so weird. We do have Arlo going towards bot side. He's spotted out, has the counter-strike. He should still be fine. Indeed, he is. Takes a bit of a trade, but it's not the end of the world. So, AL now know something weird's happening towards bot side. Qingtian, what's he leveled up?
Body slam. That's what he's leveled up. But there's no knockback. Forces to flash away from Ale, who does get out alive.
Ala gave himself that counter-strike early on. Qingtian, he can't cancel the recall that easily. He sees the recall come through in completion. Kyle has left Hope alone in topside. Now, this is very interesting because Kai'Sa is a champion that loves to have solo experience. It's one of the reasons why we saw Kai'Sa in mid lane for various different points. Has been left alone up there. This is not a traditional lane swap. One of the big things here, though, is the fact that we're going to have Ala be missing a lot of experience. One of the things that we can see with the new overlay that we kind of kept on from MSI as well is that you have the experience bars, much like in the LEC as well, beneath the champion portraits. Ala currently has one little bit of XP, and he only just got that right now.
Yeah, that's pretty rough to see. We'll see whether he can actually get access. Where actually Kyle has roamed down towards his bot lane to be a kind of secondary laner for the Jax, which we do sometimes see in those lane swap scenarios where the AD carry becomes that solo laner effectively, and the top laner plays a bit of duo lane options. Hacker is here, but so is Croco. Lose the blue buff, though. Of course, Croco stole the blue buff on the other side of the map, so it's only a trade of objectives so far. Now a fight for the Gromp. The problem is you're fighting into a Maokai who has Q Smite, which is very difficult to beat in the jungle.
Very early on, so can they get that one turns the XP? Yes, they can, and they catch Kyle. Flash away, Hook doesn't get into the tower range, though, so AL just losing little bits and pieces, but not kills just yet. Shanks.
Ow! Final auto would do it! First blood solo kill for Shanks!
And Shanks picks up the Jace into the Tristana. You could argue that the Jace is countered by the Tristana, at least in laning phase, but it doesn't matter. Comes through, solo kill from the mid laner. Huge moment for AL to pick up some pressure in the early game.
Hang on. Intian needs to run away and is fine for now. But Ala teleporting in got a little bit dicey there for a second.
And Ala gets himself into a place where he can finally get some experience. Isn't that nice for him? Hope goes back. He's got himself a lot of solo farm, and he gets himself a level up on Doggo because of that coming through. So, the Kai'Sa manages to survive through the first few levels of the game, which can be difficult when you are tasked against a Varus, so they avoid the Varus altogether. Qingtian sees the Scuttle Crab potentially going down. Won't be able to steal it just yet, and Croco actually burns the Smite just to make sure that is secured altogether. Got himself denied on that Gromp, but does get himself top Scuttle importantly.
Get is here, just warding off Kyle, who could otherwise be a dangerous proposition.
And Shanks comes back, has a tier, has a longsword, 400 gold up. Yukai, guys, a great Tristana, typically. Had himself, are we going to go back to the replay of that? Which one are we going back to? Going towards the solo kill. So the Shock Blast has even been used here. So Shanks goes in, gets himself everything down, and when you're in that Hammer Thorn, you do get some extra mana back. It allows him the extra ability to cast an extra ability. Goes through for the extra kill.
Like with the bomb exploding, there should have been an opportunity to reset and just rocket jump away, but Kai doesn't bother and ends up dying a little bit there as well. I'm pretty sure that reset should have been available. Shanks steps forwards again with it to the skies. The bomb pops down though, and the rocket jump goes forward, but doesn't really get him in range to auto attack, and now he's in danger of a shock blast landing. No empowered option though, so just the base form of the Q. Ala taken pretty low, but not out, and does just ward hop away.
As he placed down that ward just a little earlier and spotted out Hacker on the top side as well. So Ala has managed to survive the weirdness of the lane swap as well. I thought he was going to get completely zoned out of XP, but he's like, oh, Yukai, buddy, what is happening here?
Wow, just so much damage.
Shanks has been taking Yukai to task, and Yukai, this Tristana is something which I have had so much praise for in the past. I thought that he was, well, I still think that he is a very good Tristana, but this has just not been the game to show it. Shanks has really just schooled this mid laner. Shanks showing why he can be considered up there with some of the best LPL mid laners. He's kind of been on the fringe of elite mid laner in the LPL at points in his career. And with this roster, if he's on form with Ala coming in with the game one he had to, this again revisits the conversation of, yeah, AL, they are looking like they could be, if not, you know, like a top team, at least a dark horse to make some waves.
And it depends what level we're going to see consistently out of the likes of Ala, the likes of Shanks. We know how good Ala can be. We've seen hints of it with Shanks, but now with their powers combined, maybe they can be something really special. Bot lane, though, we have to turn our eyes towards for the first time. It feels like this series as Kyle goes down, but Doggo will be traded out. An AD carry for support is still, it feels, a win for anyone's legend.
It is.
The Cat will mount up, can't find anything more.
Yeah, so that's gold over to Hope. You can see the gold lead is on Doggo right now, but the fact that Hope is getting any gold at all against a Varus is very important. The Kai'Sa, we said very important. He's okay with that W crash down. I was worried there because the passive is now stacked up on him. This is dangerous.
Oh my god, gets him with a level 6!
Just does not respect the XP of Hope. Use of that auto attack. Reset. Flash forward from Hacker.
It just never ends. Hacker tries to get on forward. The flash won't work, and now Croco here with the Qs flying. A final one would do it. Gets the kill. Now needs to back away. Kyle is back. Doggo also here. There's no mana on Hope, so I think they just need to leave this one where it lies.
And what the heck just happened around this bot side? Niket, I think he was just waiting there to get his W cooldown, try to hold the wave. And the wave's now in a good position, but you can't die for it like that. Hope walks away with, you know, about a 700 gold swing away from Doggo towards himself during the contact, and in the kind of the big kind of contrast of that play. He's almost got himself towards believe it's towards the Kraken Slayer soon after this point now for Hope. We'll see what build the Kai'Sa builds are weird, man. I just need to get used to them again. But it just feels like...
How do I hit which breakpoints?
But it feels like Ultra Prime, you know, last game it was individual mistakes in top lane determining the game. I'm really hoping for the sake of them that it's not going to be individual mistakes in mid and bot lane this time to complete the full house and allow anyone's Legend some dominant games.
And unfortunately for Ultra Prime, this is now 2 games in a row, as you've kind of said, where it has been solo kills that have started to alarm us. And then, yes, the bot side skirmish was a solo kill, but it was still a losing proposition for Ultra Prime, despite the initial kill going their way against that Nautilus. But we'll see it in the replay here. They start off the 2v2, but it's the extended play that goes so very wrong.
Yeah, and the reason this gets close is because you don't have stuff like lethal tempo in the game now, which means that these early fights just get really nasty to continue on. There's just the Hail of Blades on that Kai'Sa which come through. And what happens here? You know, Niket just walking here. He's trying to hold the wave, and he's waiting for his W cooldown. He gets it there, but it's just a little too late. Levels up that 6 and gets himself into the point where he can avoid that Q. He actually cleanses because he thinks he was going to get hit by it anyway. Just doesn't want to risk getting stunned under turret. Walks away with a kill.
You just can't ask for better. That was really, really smooth by Hope. Now 2-0-1. It's so good to see.
That is, and sadly for Niket, who was unkilled for a grand majority of game 1, dies fairly early on into this one too, and yeah, that one's a bit of a stinker. Sucks for him, I suppose. And he's going forward again, doesn't quite get the flip back!
And unfortunately for them, they're looking for a pick themselves, but Croco is there, and the Defiles and the Layways does enough work to help secure another kill.
And we continue on with this bot lane kind of chaos compared to that first game. First game, it felt like bot lane was fairly quiet, stable, not really determining the game, but then it was top line that fell apart from it. You can't really blame Doggo and Niket for what happened in that first one. I will say that Doggo on the Poke Varus has a pretty good game to play Poke Varus into, but giving so much gold over the Kai'Sa means that it's less about the Varus lane domination, and you can see how much damage he can do. What happens here? I think Hope just goes out of vision. He can't get that toss back because Hope goes back into the bush. I was wondering what happened there. I was wondering if he cancels auto on something else, but Hope gets away from that one. Doggo very nearly gets a return kill. Sadly not for him, and now he might just get assassinated.
Oh, and there's the Karthus as well. A Requiem for a Dream. But the heal keeps Doggo alive for a moment. A final Q does the work, though, and Hope springs eternal. 3-0-2.
And if you're wondering why Karthus Tristana is a good combo, it's because an AD carry that can dive forward and have the extra bit of damage from the Requiem is very, very potent. Same thing here with the Kai'Sa. Goes for 3-0-2. And as we said, the Varus having to kind of just see a Kai'Sa get so much gold, not due to their fault at all, sucks so much. Niket going forwards.
Damage shanks to the skies. Niket gets knocked away with the Magnastorm running, but now Qingtian coming on over. Kyle in a difficult position. The kill comes through onto the Rel. Makes that a 1-for-1 as Yuakai picks that one up. The Cask Apple knocks Shanks back. The ult comes flying on through. Tries to get the speed. Jumps over the roots to try and buy some space. Doesn't quite work out as the turnaround damage is now huge. And anyone's Legend have overplayed their hand. Flash on forward with a body slam. And Allah has got nowhere left to run. Surely the bomb about to explode does so. Final body slam, another kill, and Ultra Prime finally on the board.
What is Arla doing in that fight? It's his Jax, which we praise so much, but he just flies in to try and secure something at the end of that fight, and it ain't it, folks. It ain't it. Feels like anyone's Legend lose their heads a little bit in that one. They do pick up, you know, the 1 kill at that start of the fight, goes over to Croco, that's a bonus, but feels like Ultra Prime, that's the fight which they really wanted to use, where, you know, Doggo can stand at range, fire multiple arrows to finish off kills. And of course, Yuakai can get some resets too. That is sparing the blushes a little bit of this early game. And this very much needed to happen for them. Finally, 12 minutes into the game, going to get ourselves a dragon started. Really hasn't been that much of an objective-based game. Ultra Prime got those 6 grubs for free while the fracas bot lane was happening. But even with this, all about the objectives and this thing towards the top side as well, does just feel, though, with a lot of gold on Karthus, with a lot of gold on Kai'Sa, the problem of Ultra Prime now will be trying to survive that first pick, and it's going to be so difficult to do so.
Intian has got Cask available, maybe forced to burn it here. Actually knocks into the tower! Ole will throw down the Grandmaster's Might. The tower shots bring him pretty low. Dead. That got a little spicy there for a second, but not enough cooldowns or damage quite yet to bring one or the other down. I know, it gets so close.
Ole gets hit by another one of those casts just a little bit. You can see how dangerous Garagas can be in this matchup. Jack Jax always was a little bit difficult to play into that Gragas for a little while before. See that? I think that AL maybe just didn't expect Niket to have two people stood behind him. See that Yokai kind of just focuses down on one target, tries to get himself the reset, and indeed does. While all this is happening, though, you have to remember that Ultra Prime still have a lot of cooldowns left. They were the ones that really managed to use a lot of their basic abilities and then follow up with the ultimates after. Ala comes on a terrible timing, too. That's a complete freebie. Very surprised he went down for that play.
Yeah, and that actually now gets Yokai 2 kills against Doggo. Another kill now 2 and 2 each, which is a valuable thing because they were like looking at the barrels of like a 0-2 game each, which wasn't good to see. Much more valuable now in terms of their ability to impact the game, and I'll have been a little bit late to the play. Hefty cost. Of course, Anyone's Legend still fine in this game. They're up 1,500 gold.
Well, we
it's
just
the right
talked about that,
kinds of
didn't we?
places.
And particularly with the Kai'Sa, very, very dangerous. Shank's good gold too.
Gets interesting. There's no way, but the damage back is foul, and they just dive with no minions required.
Oh, they don't care about that. Ala jumps beyond the wave. The mark ult was just used. They do have the Karth Assault.
The damage back is huge, but it's just not enough.
Not enough.
With a shield and an aftershock is enough to keep
now
himself
we
alive.
have Tristana, 6 grubs, being able to take down that top lane tower pretty easily, it feels like. So that one's going to be taken down for free. Every time these plays happen now, remember that if Tristana's still alive, a tower's probably going with it because those grubs giving that extra tower damage and the mites that come out alongside it too. Herald coming up, that's going to be powerful for them. Will still be a trade in turrets, and I guess a trade in kills. You count the Gragas as part of that cross map as well. Shanks will take that one down. At least Ultra Prime firing back where they can, particularly with Hacker on the Maokai. I think last split, Hacker was looking better in the team when he could be the one just very calmly pressing the go button on someone like that Maokai ultimate. I feel like a lot of their better games came from him on this pick. Kind of besides his identity of the early game psychopath jungler, it really felt like he could do a bit more in the late game with this one. We're seeing the Maokai getting some big value alongside Niket on the Rel, just being able to very calmly start the engage if they need to with the Maokai, but also follow up with a hammer blow the Rel afterwards.
Yeah, I think you've got a point there in the sense that something like the Maokai, it's a lot easier to coordinate with your team when you're going in or when you're making a play. The R button, the W, so easy to work around as a combo. We'll see this replay again, because Croco's just about got enough mana for a Requiem, but that's about it, and it is, unfortunately, for the side of Ala, a 3v1.
It is, and you can see, credit to Doggo, actually. Every time Ultra Prime have been making these plays, Doggo has been firing an arrow pretty much at max range to finish off kills, and this isn't kill stealing or whatever, this is just adding in a huge amount of damage too. I think that this poke Varus, getting large amounts of gold on the table is very important. This enemy team is not very tanky, there's a lot of Merc Treads being built up too, so this lethality Varus is going to do a lot of work. And I think that Anyone's Legend needs to be very careful of Doggo getting able to fire 2-3 arrows in a fight.
Yeah, and it does feel like Anyone's Legend, fantastic ability to punish the sideline, fantastic ability to jump on a target and blow them up. Particularly when you start pairing things up like the Requiem with the likes of the Jace or the Kai'Sa jumping on forwards. But the extended fights when you've got a Gragas and a Maokai frontline alongside a Rel and then double AD carries behind it, that gets pretty difficult to manage in those extended fights that you're kind of saying. If you do get a few rotations on that Varus through, get pretty dodgy as Ala. Not enjoying his trades with the Gragas right now. Just about ward hops away from the cask.
Qingtian has been doing a really good job on the Gragas in the individual matchup versus Ala. Remember, last game, Ala took Qingtian took him to school, man. It was not pretty. A singular mistake in that landing phase put Qingtian in the dirt. The Gragas, though, going towards the full AP variant, has that Seraphs, has always been a good matchup into the Jax, even though it's Ala's Jax. He's been doing a good job of making sure that he can't get side lane pressure, and actually being able to push up waves himself is quite important for the side of Ultra Prime, is that Tristana is pushing in very heavily. You have the Gragas that can do the same. It gives them options.
Ooh. Shock Blast beginning to sting a little bit more. No completion on the Muramani, but once that comes on through, Shanks will be hitting ever harder. And I will be interested to see how Ultra Prime play out this mid-game. Now, they're not down, 3,000 gold in individual matchups.
Well, I think what's helpful is the fact that there weren't that many early dragons taken. I think that Dragon Soul obviously is a way to kind of force the game to go very, very fast. I think Ultra Prime wants some time inside lanes with the Gragas doing well against the Jax and with the Tristana doing some work where they can as well. Right now, though, that Gragas is getting completely chunked by Ala.
Ask has managed to come back thanks to some ability haste. Hopping on forwards, Yuakai will jump there with a teleport. The Requiem around, though, means ow! The damage definitely stings just that little bit more. Mid lane we go instead as Hacker will begin to call forth nature's wrath with a few roots coming on forwards into the Chains of Corruption,
It's just for wave clip. That's just for corruption.
It's just wave clear.
It's just for wave clear. They committed a lot of people top and that teleport too. So they're just saying, look, let's throw out the Mark ult, get that Var Assault too. We don't want to lose any HP on our outer turret. It's not like there's a big objective to fight, so those cooldowns will be back up for the next time they're really looking for something. And again, serious credit to Ultra Prime. I thought that Hope on the Kai'Sa, and Hope is a very good Kai'Sa player too. I felt like he'd be able to control the game at this point, getting towards the 2-item point, which is going to be very, very terrifying for Ultra Prime. But the game has actually really been about how Ultra Prime have been using the Gragas, using the Maokai to catch people off from anyone's Legend and getting a quicker follow-up than anyone's Legend, which is a complete opposite to what happened in Game 1. My biggest criticism for Ultra Prime in Game 1 was they were slow to the punch. Felt like they were not there at the big plays, and anyone's Legend were capitalizing on these windows of opportunity. So good from them to stand up from that Game 1.
Call it out though, because Hacker showed mid to throw out that ultimate. It gave Croco free reign to clear out the entirety of Hacker's red side jungle, and then he just gets to full clear his own jungle in the blink of an eye. This Karthus going to start accelerating from this point. He's got an item and a half. I think the second one will be complete very shortly as well. That will be Malignance on top of the Blackfire Torch.
Oh my god. Oh, he has actually gone for the Malignance as well. You're absolutely right. And I love this because it just means he can just use his ult on cooldown, teleports now towards topside. He won't have his ultimate quite just yet. Be up in 5 seconds. Might just use that to finish off the kill. Cask misses. Dead Xingtian, I think.
Yep, looks like the depth charge comes on through, and Hillbilly Gragas has got nothing to say about this one. Ala gets the kill, and they'll get the tower as well.
So, Xingtian, Ala has felt like it has been the determining matchup of this series so far in a lot of ways. This time, less so than it was around the bot side, but still, lots of fighting between the two of them, and lots of people coming to play on that top side. 6 Grub, Tristana on bot side, though, will make this a fine cross map from the side of Ultra Prime. Full tower being taken down. That's map control. That's gold. Extra 300, which is basically the same as a kill anyway. Yukai happy with that one. Has 2 items with the Navori Flicker Blades. Second item giving a huge amount of attack speed and the cooldown reduction on auto attack as well to that Tristana. Makes them very potent in extended plays now.
So what are the changes to Navori? Because obviously it was one of the items that did get that huge amount of kind of like shifts forward. I know it's obviously still very good on the Tristana. We'll see the replay first, maybe before we start diving into some of the intricacies of items, as this is just
we called out a lot of this,
1v3.
We called a lot about this, where I think Xingtian is just trying to like catch Shanks with that cast to make sure they can split up the dive. I think you probably should just cast it on the wave though, to make sure that those minions weren't getting into their turret range just about. Doggo has spell shield, dodges out in the first skill shot, and the second one too, so that's still alive, and he can keep wave clearing. This is why earlier when we had that kind of, it looked a little confusing on the surface, like, oh, you just threw out a Markel. Why are we doing that? It just keeps the turret a little bit more healthy and allows them to stay in side lanes while their mid lane turret is still up. Dragon spawning in a minute 30, so AL are trying to push in and get some extra vision control, some advanced warning for when Ultra Prime move through that bot side jungle, and they will get themselves this mid lane out of turret now.
Doggo taken to half HP now with the Requiem on top.
Oh, no, they don't.
2 items on Karthus could get very tricky to manage, but they'll throw out the Maokai ultimate. The problem is that means, I suppose with the cooldown at this point, probably should have it up in time for the Dragon. Anyone's Legend not wanting to really hyperforce on this one, as Ala will throw counter strike, but doesn't decide to leap strike forwards to potentially use it as an engage tool.
And once again, we see the Markel being used to just secure this mid lane out of turret. They don't have a second Markel ult, though, so it takes them another 3 waves from the start of this kind of series of plays, but it does finally fall. Now, that's going to be all outer turrets down from Ultra Prime, and it's much harder for them now to walk up in the mid lane while the Tristana is pushing in a side lane, while the Gragas is pushing in a side lane. Ale push out mid lane, they get vision control, they go straight into the shadows, the fog of war, and they force Ale to be very, Ultra Prime rather, to be very respectful of the river now. You can't really walk into the Kai'Sa on 2 items if someone's been CC'd in front of them.
Shout out to the observers for highlighting there was that singular ward over the wall that showed they weren't on Baron at least. They didn't feel pressured to face check. So they kind of managed to hold their nerve with the additional knowledge afforded to them. And also because of the slightly delayed resets, actually means Ultra Prime are going to be the ones in position around this river first, and trying to force through the Gragas, the Maokai, the Rel could get a bit dicey, but they're saying, look, we'd rather just turn and burn on this Baron.
Karthus kills this super quick, is one of the strongest takers in the game, and Ultra Prime are just not there quick enough. The fog of war works out for anyone's Legend. They push out that mid lane turret. Yes, they give up a mid lane turret. Yes, they give up a Dragon, but the Baron will give them a chance to potentially get a lot of gold in pocket and force Ultra Prime into, again, a very difficult scenario.
Now with a Jax, a Jace, and Baron buff to their name, the ability to stop this split push gets increasingly challenging. Well, debating a flash over the wall there. We'll decide against any such shenanigans. And
Croco taking more jungle camps. Croco taking all of those jungle camps for himself. Xingtian finally comes around to wave clicks. See that Tristana on the bot side of the map has teleport. Potentially can join those players. But AL, credit to them for methodically working down that mid lane outer turret, and then as soon as that mid lane outer turret falls, you see how the map falls apart with it a little bit. Well, they managed to get towards that Baron. Now the question is, with this Baron, what can they achieve? Can they finally get these big players that can get control of sidelines, have Kai'Sa flying into one of them? We've not really seen the Kai'Sa be a big part of this game. It's been much more about what's happened with the Jax and with the big combos of Karthus coming in too. Need to really see them now finally punch home with one of these big plays with the Kai'Sa.
Yeah, at least for the last 10 minutes so. I think the early game obviously did get to 3-0 and 2 off a lot of plays
but
around
then it
the
hasn't changed. You have a fed Kai'Sa, and that's not changed. Ala caught out with a Varus.
Exactly that. Now we're going to see whether they can make something happen as Ala knocked away, and once again the attack is on the top laners. Yukai gets to hop on forwards. Shanks in a dangerous position themselves in a 1v3, and Hope again is not here. Your fed Kai'Sa once again not involved in the plays. We'll get the tier 2 at least. So there is some recompense, but the Baron buff is just kind of stymied because you lose in the mismatched fight.
AL had the 3-0-2 Kai'Sa, and they don't join the fight. You can see how much damage they can do, but forcing the flash out too, that's dangerous now.
Gets a supercharger run away, gets a W afterwards. Big chunk onto the cat, who does get a bit of healing, but now the ultimate comes flying on through for Karthus! Into the ultimate from Hope, but there's no mana! There's no mana for Hope! Dante had it right! Abandon Hope, all you who ult here!
Oh my god, what a terrible dive from Hope. He dives into everyone to get like a multi-person queue. You need the single target if you want to assassinate. Really, really poorly played around the Kai'Sa this game from Anyone's Legend in the mid game. Ultra Prime, they find the window of opportunity on the other side. Let's not just spend this time dunking on the Kai'Sa play. It's a good pick with the Varus. This Varus has been so important for this reason. You have the Mawak ult, the Gragas ult. Look at the way that AL are just just bounced around the entirety of this. And they take this fight before Hope can join in. Yukai flashing in. Multiple resets in that fight. Ultra Prime, serious credit for them finding the window and capitalizing with their big team fight ultimates. This here is very nonsensical for me from Hope. You can see that he's going into a spell shield from Doggo. Loses his flash for free, and then after this point, it's just very difficult to escape the oncoming team of Ultra Prime. Kyle kind of gives his life for that. This, to me, is so nonsensical, though. This is, what, a 4-target queue? That's reducing your damage so much onto the key members. I don't know whether he didn't have the Plasma Mark to get into a better position, but I got to assume it would have been better than that. Hope really struggling to give himself any impact this game.
Rough stuff. You know, credit to the likes of Hacker flashing immediately onto Shanks with 2 members flashing after him to secure the additional kill onto the Jace, who thought was safe over the wall in the Krug camp. They were not. You lost both solo laners and your AD carry shortly afterwards, and the Baron buff is quickly turned into a negative power play. Minus 457 is not what you like to see.
And you gave up a dragon for this, remember? So you gave up the dragon and your mid lane turret for the Baron, which has achieved a negative Baron power play.
Like, very sad.
What do you want me to say, man? That's just not a good trade. Like,
not great, yeah.
This is Anyone's Legend, the art of the trade deal, I guess. Yukai walking up topside. There's a the mad Karthus ult.
That's what you could do, though.
Croco combos up with Shanks, and Yukai just really misjudges that play topside just as we're praising Ultra Prime. Big mistake coming in there. Xingtian now finding it difficult to face off against Ala.
Down to about 20% HP. Has his Seraph's procced as well. A W just about wide from Kai'Sa. Voidseeker going to land. Otherwise, that could have been an interesting moment. Tier 2 goes down, and the damage that was sustained earlier, thanks to the Baron, is finally capitalized on by Anyone's Legend. And suddenly they are right back in the driver's seat. An awkward sequence there, yes, with the Baron, but they are still so very threatening when they can combo up a solo laner with the Karthus ult.
And with the Malignants too, and the Leandries down on top of it too, this Karthus is going to be ulting on cooldown, and that cooldown is going to be much lower. Yokai jumps forward, it's into a full cannon wave, and then the second jump here, that's the problem. He jumps straight into the Eclipse Chase. Now, this isn't going to be, the hubris or the opportunity or something like that. This Eclipse is for that melee range dueling, getting that shield out. Shanks using it well. Dragon spawned, big fight coming in. Croco doesn't have ult yet. That'll be very important to wait to see whether he can get that in time. It's coming up soon.
Should be up in time. Another shock blast lands onto Niket though, and instead Ultra Prime is saying, yeah, we don't care about this. Let's see if we can get the wave shoved and try and set up around Baron instead.
So AL get themselves Soul Point, but it is at the cost of a tower. We've seen a couple of these plays. Again, so this is something which I've talked about a lot this week. If you get 2 early dragons, which anyone's legend did this game, you do get some extra options when it comes to dragons into late game if you want to achieve something elsewhere. If you want to go towards Baron, if you want to play towards side lanes, you can give up a dragon because it's not the same. Ultra Prime, they've now just given over Soul Point to AL at the cost of a mid lane in a turret. Now, of course, they might have felt that they weren't in position to fight for that big turret, but what can they do here? Croco walking forwards.
Jumped, could be in danger. Shanks misses the shock blast, and that's a dangerous position. Will they pull the ultimate? They will do! Absolutely foul amount of damage, and Hope will Killer Instinct in. Tries to read Niket's job there. Does Kyle, and will not land the dredge line. So it ends up being a 1-for-1, both junglers traded.
And if Hacker had made it out of that, it would have been jungler down around Baron spawn. So that would have been a huge win for Ultra Prime. It's a good angle for them. Croco just not respecting the fog of war. Karthus does a lot of damage. Dies pretty quick though, all the same. This hasn't been something like a Zonya's build, which can be a bit more defensive and stop you from being assassinated. In pro play, as a jungler, you just can't afford to die around moments like this. Very important that they managed to get a return kill. AL now actually looking to start this up themselves. Have some good Baron damage even without the Karthus there. Kai'Sa one of the best in the game. The rest of them good damage too. And Ultra Prime, they just don't sniff it out again.
They're just finally stopped their backs, but I think it's too late. That's a Kai'Sa with 3 items. It's gone.
It's the AP variant of the Kai'Sa too, even better at killing Baron with the passive scaling off of AP, and of course the Nash's Rage Blade being able to double stack all the passive and AP scaling. This is what happened with the junglers though. Croco, you can't afford to walk up like this. You can't afford to do that. Hope, it's good for him that he manages to get in with that W. There was actually a chance that it could have got turned around with Yokai, again with huge amounts of damage. He has the Infinity Edge. One of the big changes has been, we talked about some of the AD carry out, well, we almost talked about some of the AD carry out.
We tried.
Effectively, Flicker Blades gives more cooldown reduction, and it gives a lot more attack speed, and it gives move speed, but it doesn't give flat ability haste, and it doesn't give attack damage anymore. So you don't get like the 65 AD, but you do attack very, very quickly, and your cooldowns come back if you're auto-attacking very well. Which means that Yokai, you need to wait for him to see if you can get multiple jumps in these fights. It feels like it's a very powerful tool to add on there, and the AD you're going to make up for with that Infinity Edge, which gives a lot of AD now, and of course even more crit damage than it did do in the past. Tristana, very, very powerful at this point in time, and that Hex Dragon on top will mean you can maybe shrug off a little bit of that magic damage.
Ram Scepter as well to try and manage some of the danger. Ale will think about a counter strike, but we'll decide against it. Just threatening there as a shock blast lands, but with 5 members here, sieging this turret gets very tricky. I don't think the wave's in the best spot right now for anyone's legend, but they've got 2 minutes until an Infernal Drake, and that would be Infernal Soul with the double poke plus casters would be very difficult to manage, and yes, Chains of Corruption go wide.
And you can think about that counter-strike, but G2's not in this game, thankfully, for the LPL. We saw what they did at MSI and at the CS Major as well. We got ourselves a teleport coming in from Endless Legend, and the ult comes through.
Shanks flashes away, gets damage back though! To the skies he goes, and to the ground Hacker is put! 2 kills straight back, shock blast afterwards, Ale hops on forwards, the Requiem comes on through, and it's more like a dirge at this point! Another Sinker, the burn from Car.
We're taking a 2-0 here in the game versus Ultra Prime.
The game going so heavily to AL in such a short amount of time that Sam's mic dies on the exit of it. Ultra Prime face up against anyone's legend for their first series of the LPL summer, and oh my word, they have given some questions some other teams. Really does feel like Ala being put into this team has given them a breath of fresh air, and they will walk away with a 2-0.
I got too excited, Alex. My microphone cable came out.
That's wonderful, Sam. The flailing arms catching the microphone.
I must have been. Yeah, I'm sorry about that one. I got so excited. It was a good call, too. I don't know how much you called of it. I hope it was okay.
An amount, Sam. An amount. We'll put it that way. Wait, well,
You'll have to just imagine it was a good end
it's
call,
just
guys.
skill issue, Sam. Skill issue, all the
Yeah,
same.
basically.
Ultra Prime looked a little better for them after that early game.